We are at Java Day Istanbul, and thanks for joining, and thanks for using the hashtag JDI 2021. Yeah, JDI 2021. So, at the end of the session, you will have identified one change to put in place right now to increase your impact and satisfaction. What can you see? If we were in a big conference room, I would probably hear some of you saying a smile. And this is the incredible capability of our brain to recognize patterns, especially faces. And this is with a smile that I started my day. I remembered positive events and that put a smile on my face. Could you try to remember positive events? Let's try it. I had also planned to tell you, face your neighbor, make eye contact, and smile as much as you can, because it is an exciting way to experiment with the mirroring effect. Do you think we can do that in front of our screens? Let's try it. Taking matters into my own hands. At the end of the session, you will have identified one change to put in place right now to increase your impact and satisfaction. One change. Meet Pranay. She's a software engineer. She felt so good when she took that job. Everything sounded so great. She felt it was exactly the right spot for her. Now, she struggles in her job. All things always seem to fall apart and end in endless firefighting sessions. She tried to find ways, but nothing worked. She feels she's a small piece of wood carried by the flow of a rapid river, until she finds that thing to change. I'm Alexis Monville. I'm on the EMEA leadership team at Red Hat, and the story I will tell you today is a prequel to the one from my second book, I'm a software engineer and I'm in charge. A book I wrote with Michael Doyle. The story will enable you to identify one thing to change to increase your impact and satisfaction at work. For Pranay, it happened when she attended a conference. She found that one thing that changed everything. That day, one of the presenters asked a simple question. How will you measure your life? Pranay took note of the question, and she started to think about it. During the following days, she returned to the question and drafted what she thought her life should be to call it success. And she explored all the different areas of life, not only the professional aspects, of course. She started to have a satisfying picture of what it should be. But now, how to get there? The question reminded her what another presenter mentioned. You have as much influence that you think you have. And to support his claim, the presenter drew a third circle meant to represent what you can really act upon. He then drew a second circle outside the first one, showing what you could really influence. But outside of that, what can we do? The soup is what is outside the second circle. And the soup analogy is useful because as the two first circles are well known, the simple knowledge tends to make us powerless. It is learned helplessness. The soup idea pushes us to find a way to influence even slightly what we thought we could not affect. So if I don't want a cold and untasty soup, I take the big pot of soup and put it on the stove. What happens? Nothing. Nothing immediately. But after some time, a long time, something happens. A small bubble pops up at the surface, the first shared ID that changes the soup. You can change the soup. Make it a little bit hotter, or add some salt and pepper to make it slightly tastier. The soup analogy is there to push ourselves to expand our circles. Pranay knows now that to accomplish anything of value, she would need allies. And she found a great way to get to know the other people in a book from Portia Tang, The Dream Team Nightmare. Portia is the guest of episode 12 of the season 2 of the podcast on emerging leadership. And I found it very amusing that her initial working assumption about leadership when she started her journey as a developer was, this leadership stuff is not for me. In reality, she has a lot to share, and not only the technique Pranay discovered. I will talk you through it today. It's a technique to meet one-on-one using a straightforward structure that Pranay represented on small post-it notes that she brings with her for her one-on-ones. It starts with an icebreaker. So just move the sticky note to the in progress column. We ask each other 3 questions. Question like, if you could do anything in the entire world other than your current job, what would it be? What do you spend most of your spare time doing? What's your favorite holiday destination? Have you recently thought, I wish I had done that? Are you afraid of anything? How do you measure success? Are there things you don't know that you feel you should know? What have you recently changed your mind about? So once we are done with our 3 questions, one each, and we are going in the ping pong mode, we move the sticky note in the done column. And we move to the professional background. And you will now share your work history that led you to your current role. One way of doing that is to say, what are the 5 words you can use to describe your story? Think about that. Then you ask about a specific aspect of the experience of the other people. I used leadership experience, agile experience, management experience, for example. In the context of a mission, I used agile experience, as I thought it was crucial to assess the level of experience and understanding of the people in the team. An engineer specialized in quality assurance told me in that section, my last experience with agile is really simple. The agile guru explained that our way of working, separating development and quality assurance, was the root cause of all the problems. I waited a second before saying anything. I tend to think that separating people in silos is a quite common cause of problems in an organization. And then the engineer continued. And then our manager fired all the quality assurance engineers, and that's how I moved to this company. And so I guess that your mission will be to fire us. You can see that investing some time in that exercise could be wise. It has always helped me. And I regret each time that I cut corners and don't invest enough time in getting to know the people I work with. And it's already time for the 3 wishes. You end with another game, asking a question. If you could have 3 wishes for transforming your daily work or workplace, what would they be? And once again, what the people say here will teach you a lot about the organization and their current mindset. The last note with the 3 question marks is a wild card to allow the other person to propose any additional topics to discuss. People will sometimes have nothing more to say. They will suggest a topic that could be useful to cover in another meeting, not necessarily one-on-one. To introduce the practice, Pranay just told her teammate, hey, I found something that we could use to onboard the next newcomers in our team. Would you want to try it with me to assess if it could be good? And here they go. Overcoming the first impression is hard. We have to avoid the temptation to use our intellect to confirm our first impression. Making the effort to overcome the first impression is the way to create peace in the world. Pranay knows now that to increase her impact and satisfaction, it starts with her, but it is just the beginning. So, yes, it starts with you. It starts with self-reflection. It starts with expanding our circles, overcoming learned helplessness. Brian Tracy told a story that represents well how it affects us. When elephant trainers catch a baby elephant, they tie one of its legs to a post with a rope. And the baby elephant struggles and struggles, but it can't get free. For days, the elephant pulls and strains at the rope. Gradually, it learns that struggle is useless, and it gives up. When the elephant grows up, the trainer keeps it tied to the same rope in the same way. And even though it can now break the rope and get away, it stands passively and waits for the trainer to come and get it. It has developed what is called learned helplessness. It has learned that the struggle is useless as a result of repeated failure experiences earlier in life. The elephant has learned a self-imposed limitation. So yes, it starts with you. It starts with expanding your circles. It continues with getting to know others and building the relationships. The struggle does not go away magically. Pranay looked for a way to focus her energy on what is really important for her goal. And she found a technique called impact mapping in a book from Gojko Ecek. Gojko is a developer and a book author. And I really enjoyed when he quoted Fried Brooks in one of the episodes of the podcast on emerging leadership. The hardest single part of building a software system is deciding precisely what to build. Yeah. Impact mapping works like this. You start with 4 simple columns: why, who, how, what. Why are we doing this? This is the goal we are trying to achieve. The why here in this example is we want to have a fantastic picnic. With who? With our partner, of course. The who is who can produce the desired effect. It's also who can obstruct it. Who are the consumers or users of our product? Who will be impacted by it? The who is all the actors who can influence the outcome. What could be annoying if there were mosquitoes coming? How should our actors' behavior change? How can they help us to achieve the goal? How can they obstruct or prevent us from succeeding? These are the impacts that we are trying to create. One thing could be that they don't show up. And we can imagine a lot of what, the 4th column, to solve that. Fix the watering system to avoid growing new mosquitoes, grow repulsive plants, by annoying high-frequency sound devices. What can we do as an organization or a delivery team to support the required impact? These are the deliverables, the software features, and organizational activities. The behavior we really don't want, in the case they show up, they don't bite. So offlotion could work. So if you stick to the behavioral change when you are doing the prioritization, you can free up the creativity of the team to find what, and you can try several options. This is also the best way to define your goals. You can measure the impact you want to have without knowing yet what to do to get to the impact you want. This is the best way to define OKRs, objectives and key results. The why is the objective, and the key result is the impact. No mosquito bite at the picnic. Pranay created her own OKRs, and she introduced her OKRs to her colleagues one by one. And some of them said, hey, you know, I know how to help you with that one. Those interactions helped her to refine the impact map and create better OKRs. She did not sell a perspective, she improved her goal thanks to the diversity of perspectives in her team. And progressively, it became team OKRs, and they joined forces. And remember, as Christina Woodkey said during one of the episodes of the podcast, you've got to avoid the seduction of the task. You need to really think about the outcome, the impact, not only the infinite list of the fourth column, the what's. I guess it's the right time to encourage you to listen to the podcast on emerging leadership, right? So it starts with you expanding your circles and building relationships with others. And it continues with defining goals, using impact mapping and OKRs, which becomes shared OKRs with the team. It does not have to start from the top. And because you know what are the things that are the most important, you want to focus your time on those things. What Pranay found is that there were really three types of time. Time for synchronization, to make sure we are all on the same page. Synchronization time is when team members share their progress, challenges, learnings, so they all can stay on the same page, aligned toward the same goal. During synchronization time, we can identify opportunities for activities that will fall into the two other types of time. It could be an opportunity of collaboration, on understanding, on solving an issue, or the possibility of training in a specific area, to take two examples. Collaboration time is when two or more people work together to accomplish a specific activity. Collaboration is key to benefit from the diversity of perspectives in the team. Collaboration to benefit from the instant feedback of other team members, like when you are engaged in pair programming or even mob programming. Really working together. And finally, time for focalization with no interruption, no notifications. So you don't waste any time switching context and coming back to your original task. Pranay and her team defined a catcher who will deal with the interruptions for the rest of the team for each of the focus sessions. The new catcher is defined for each of those sessions. They are focused on one thing at a time. To refine their use of time, the team put on paper their team agreements. You always need team agreements. Even when you are going to throw axes on wood targets, you need team agreements. The fifth one applies to a lot of different contexts, by the way. Pranay found an efficient way to start drafting the team agreement or the team social contract by using the 6 questions Patrick Lencioni proposes in his book, The Advantage. Why do we exist? It is our core purpose. How do we behave? It is our core values, like how we handle conflicts, for example, or how we use shared documents to enable asynchronous collaboration without the need for another meeting, which also enables the more introverts to contribute more efficiently. What do we do? which is our business definition. How will we succeed? These are our strategic anchors. What is the most important right now? A good impact map here is important. Prioritizing the impact, the how, is much easier than sorting an infinite list of what's, the deliverables. And 6, who must do what? This question addresses roles and responsibilities so that we can avoid the issue of false expectations. I believe that the manager should do X, or another team member's job is to do Y, but those people don't think it is their duty at all. So start with you, expanding your circles, and building relationships with others. It continues with defining goals using impact mapping and OKRs, which become shared OKRs for the team. And finally, strategic use of time, defined in continuously updated team agreements. Updated after each retrospective, for example. And the use of time, and about the use of time, they also agreed to use speedy meeting feature. So they always leave 5 or 10 minutes as a break at the end of 30 minutes or at the end of the hour. Some of them even use those breaks for short meditation sessions. Pranay also quickly discovered that there was a significant need for time to celebrate as a team. And they added that to their team agreements. And I hope you will too, because as Pranay's team did, this is how you increase your impact and satisfaction. So it starts with you, clear goals, and a perfect use of time as a team. Where's Wally? You may have noticed that Pranay's manager is not mentioned in the story. Is the manager a lazy absentee or a brilliant genius? We don't know from the story. What do you think? What we know is that the manager understands how to let initiative happen in the team. Maybe the manager is encouraging, fostering initiative from behind the scenes. How can you do something like that? Or influence something like that to happen? In coaching or mentoring sessions, I use what I call the 4 BEPS axes of a leader. And BEPS stands for Business, Execution, People, and System. BEPS helps people realize when they don't invest at all in one or more of the axes. Execution is usually not the main problem. It can be a problem for managers when they are deep in execution, up to defining the precise tasks each person should work on. And in going too deep, they forgot the other axis. People, hiring, growing, managing performance, and self-improve could be more of a problem, as sometimes I feel people tend to passively delegate to HR or to managers all the great work that has to happen on that axe, and that could happen in the team, within the team. System is a big one, and usually one that suffers from underinvestment. Understanding the system formed by the people, the organization, the processes and tools remove the obstacles to great work. And as W. Deming said, a bad system will beat good people each time. Managers have usually more power to influence system changes. And the underinvestment usually creates a complexity debt with layers of complexity piling up on each other. Simplify could be a good mantra. And finally, business. Understanding the business and the ecosystem the organization evolves in. Understanding why we provide solutions, products, features, services, and formulate a clear vision. Are your activities balanced on the BEPS axis? Is it possible for your team? Sometimes people tell me it could work in a startup, but for our organization, it is not really possible. Just imagine that you are sick. And so you have an appointment with a medical doctor. Let me introduce the doctor's stock photo here. Would you be fine with an answer from our dear doctor, like, okay, you are sick, it's bad. So let me call your parents and I will tell them to start from scratch. Not really a satisfying answer, right? The only reasonable answer is change. I wish that you picked one change from today, even a small one. It could be the self-reflection journaling practice, or maybe the one-on-one getting to know each other. One of the people who tried that told me that after 30 minutes, he felt he was speaking to an old friend. So it is a good one. One change.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So,
thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Nasa. Thank you for inviting me, of course.
It's our pleasure. I think the audience will learn so many things about change, about the agile environment, how to change, how to make at least one change, how to affect their jobs. Thanks again. There is no question, so we can.
Okay, good. So people can reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Slack or on Twitter. I would be happy to get back to them if they have specific questions. So, yep, feel free to do that. And thanks again, Nosal. Have a great end of the conference.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.